Columnist and former Ronald Reagan official Paul Craig Roberts has been quite outspoken about this. He's talking to us from Atlanta, Georgia. Dr. Roberts, good to see you as always. So let's talk about the D word, defense. Let me just quote something that you had written in reference to all this military spending. Quote, the U.S. economy and the well-being of Americans are being sacrificed to the regime's wars. Can you elaborate a little bit more on that point?
Well, sure. You know, just now they have come out with a recommendation that Social Security be cut and the retirement age delayed because of the deficit. But there's no provision whatsoever for reducing the military spending or stopping the pointless wars. So once again, we see that the United States government's prime priority is war, and that everything else, including the welfare of its people, is sacrificed in behalf of its wars. This shows the power of the military security complex. I mean, it's grown dramatically. It's been fabulously enriched by these 9-10 years of wars, and there's no stopping it, and it doesn't seem to be any end. Why is there no outrage about this? I think it's a simple question. The American people were told that they were under attack and that they're threatened, and that all this is necessary to make them safe. You know, it's like the Nazi propagandists who said, you can always bring the people with you. All you have to do is tell them that they have been attacked and that the peacemakers lack patriotism and concern for the country. And so I think that's what it is. It's just that simple. So you're saying it's sort of a divide and conquer scenario there, but you also bring China into the conversation, which I think is very important. Talk about China, America's largest creditor, that country's role in all of this, because in a way, they're financing these wars, right? Yes, the Chinese recycle their trade surplus with the United States, roughly $200 billion, into purchasing U.S. Treasury bonds, and that helps to finance the massive American budget deficit. And so the Chinese and the Japanese and OPEC, all the countries that recycle their trade surpluses with the United States are financing the wars, or helping to finance the wars. All right, let's talk about politics here at home. I can't tell you how many Tea Party rallies I covered where there's all this anger over too much spending. Yet nobody seems to touch upon defense spending, how much money goes towards the military. So we now have a Republican majority in the House. Is anything going to change? No, the Republicans favor the wars even more than the Democrats. The military spending, if you add it all up, it's probably at least $1 trillion a year. According to distinguished economists and budget experts, the Iraq war alone has cost the United States more than $3 trillion. That's measured in terms of out-of-pocket expenses and already incurred future expenses, such as taking care of veterans and so on. And now we've heard that the war in Afghanistan now exceeds the cost of the Iraq invasion. So we have the United States blowing, what, $6 trillion that it doesn't have on wars that only benefit the military security complex. And of course, it benefits the neoconservatives who have an ideology of American hegemony over the world. So they think that by bankrupting the country, invading a few countries, that they're establishing hegemony. Of course, they're foolish because they're ruining the financial condition of the United States. War in Afghanistan costs about $1.3 billion a week, about $140 million each day. Again, Dr. Roberts, who's going to come to the forefront and say enough is enough? We're spending way too much on this. When will it happen? Is it going to happen at all? I think it'll happen only when the rest of the world says we don't trust your dollar anymore and we're not accepting it in payment, and that we are dethroning it as the reserve currency. The minute that happens, the wars will end. So as long as the rest of the world tolerates this and continues to accept as reserve currency the dollar, when the Federal Reserve is printing them as fast as it possibly can, the wars will continue until the world's had enough of that. When they say no more, that's in.
The other issue here is, of course, how much or how little attention defense spending gets. We see headlines about the economy all the time, but this factor, this large factor, actually seems to be a little bit unreported. Very briefly, Dr. Roberts, why do you think that is?
Well, I think the conservatives for many decades have been after Social Security. They want to cut Social Security. They think that it's a form of welfare. And so they see here in these current huge deficits a chance to get rid of Social Security and Medicare. The Republicans just seem to believe that a government that does anything for people who are down and out, that there's something wrong with that government. And so I think that's the main reason. They see it as a chance to cut back on Social Security and Medicare and other support programs that help ordinary people.
Of course, that's what critics say. They say, we don't have jobs, we don't have health care, yet the folks over in Iraq and Afghanistan have jobs and health care with our taxpayer money. Former Ronald Reagan administration official and columnist Paul Craig Roberts for us.